Awesome. Yeah, excited to be full-fledged into Duke week. Guys came back in the facility yesterday, reviewed Miami of Ohio, returned yesterday evening for brief install at Duke and a walkthrough. Getting into a short week. Just completed a great Monday practice, which for us in terms of our routine felt very much like a Tuesday practice for our guys. Really proud of where our guys are at. I think there's a level of humility, ownership, excitement. Excited about the outcome from Saturday, but also a group that is humble and knows that we have a ton of work to do in all three phases of our game. Excited to host Duke, back at home. What an incredible environment on Saturday. I'm excited for our fan base and our community to even build more off of that. A Friday evening game against another great opponent. These guys are a darn good football team. We certainly experienced that last year. They got after us last fall. Obviously a new coaching staff, but the job that Coach Diaz has done in his short time there, what he's done in his time at Penn State with that defense was nothing short of extraordinary. His time at Miami, this is a well-coached football team. Offensively, they're going to find a lot of ways to stress us. Great skill on the perimeter, talented backs, quarterback that might have the most live arm that we've seen in a long time, and they're gonna find ways to tempo us. I mean, they are full-fledged tempo when they decide to ramp it up. They really go. So there'll be some unique stressors on our defense this week. It's going to require a great week of practice. It's going to require us playing complementary football on on Friday night in all three phases. We got a group that's excited for the challenge.
Coach, it seemed like you guys really hit an inflection point after last year's game against Duke. How have you seen yourself specifically grow as a coach since that Duke game, and what have you learned since that point?
Yeah, I've learned a lot, but I think that was an opportunity for me. Last year I think there was times where I was so caught up in all the things going on day to day that I didn't necessarily do a great job of really enjoying myself. At the end of the day, the reason that I decided to do this, the reason our family does this, is because it doesn't seem like I've ever worked a day in my life. I get to work with 18 to 23-year-olds and coach the game of football and bring a lot of passion and energy to that. And I think there was an opportunity for me post-Duke last year to really reflect and just realize that, man, bringing energy, passion, a sense of urgency, a competitive spirit that has served me well throughout my playing career and my coaching career, and make sure that was at the forefront of everything that I was doing. And I still have to remind myself of that. I mean, that's what I have to lead with. I do this because I love pouring into a bunch of young men in our program, and I like to compete, and I got to make sure that that's at the forefront of everything that I'm doing. And that was a wake-up call for me last year. I said it after the game last year. That one was on my shoulders. I didn't do a good job of getting our team prepped, and excited to make sure I'm doing a better job this week.
Coach, now that you've had a full week of game preparation, how would you assess how you did bouncing between all three rooms instead of just normally being in the defensive room? And are there any adjustments you're going to make this week now, even on a shorter week, just with bouncing between every room?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That's something I'm honestly gonna have to continue to work through this entire year. As I alluded to Saturday, it was strange not calling plays on Saturday. And there's a really fine line there. The best head coaches I've been around interject on game day. They interject throughout the week. They're thought-provoking. They play devil's advocate. They bring knowledge to the room that they're experts in, but they also know when to step back and just let their coordinators do their job. The last thing you want is a coordinator in any of the three phases that's gun shy. At the end of the day, those guys have more time to really dive into the film than you ever do as a head coach. And you got to trust those guys. my goal is just to continue to bring value, continue to hopefully bring my insight from my experience to help all three of those guys and all our position coaches. But there's also a lot of unique things going on in college football right now. And some of the things that I have to have my energy in when it comes to scouting and recruiting, on the horizon, what college football is going to look like for a year from now. Really appreciative of, everything that, Dr. Gregg has done up to this point and what he's doing in his new role. Also very, very excited about what Pat Goss has done in terms of, this transition phase for the last 8 weeks, and thrilled to have Mark Jackson coming on board. And, it's just really, to be honest with you, it's finding that balance between all those things, but making sure that I'm ultimately prioritizing our team, our 111 guys, and helping our coaches. Starting to find that rhythm, but there's definitely still some kinks to work out.
Coach, as you sifted through the game film from this past week, I'm just curious if there are any units or individual guys that really impressed you that you wanted to shout out, maybe that isn't getting enough attention from wider audiences.
Yeah, this could be a really long list. I'll keep it brief. Really proud of the way that Mac Uline, played. Robert Fitzgerald, huge play at the end of the game. I think the thing that I pointed out in our team meeting yesterday that I'm so damn proud of is the development that we've seen throughout this entire team. And when you think about development, sometimes you just think of the first years or second years on our team. I'm alluding to those guys. The Rick Amarazis and the effort that he played with in his first college football game. Evan Smith stepping up. Did a great job, had a pick. Josh Fussell stepping in, really with his first action on the defense side of the ball. Jaden Cameron, young man that, to be very honest with you, love the young man. He's incredible. But when I first got here, I didn't know if Jaden would ever see the field for us. He's been through so many difficult ups and downs throughout his career, continued to improve daily, has earned an opportunity to get on the field in critical situations, has a huge PBU in the game, played really well in his opportunities. I mean, those are the things that give you goosebumps as a coach, and credit to him, credit to Coach Smith. And that's what we need to embody every day, just this team continuing to grow and to develop.
Dave, how did you evaluate the play of your offensive line?
You know what? There are certainly things that we need to continue to improve upon. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of things to be really excited about with that group. I felt we ran the ball well and effectively. We just got to do a better job of not setting ourselves back. A couple things that we can really control. A couple good calls by Miami. Protected the quarterback well, which is absolutely critical. We need to continue to build off of that. A credit to Mike for getting the ball out on time and being a decisive decision maker, which is critical as well. That group knows that there's a lot of continued growth that's necessary, but I'm really excited about where that group's trending, Dave.
You have a day less prep than Duke does for this game they played on Friday last week. How does that factor in, and do you feel like you're at a disadvantage right now?
Not at all. I mean, the second we put our energy into that, Matt, that's where it becomes a factor. What can we control? It's our calendar, it's our schedule. How do we create a sense of routine with our guys? I feel like we got a good plan for this week, and I credit our guys. They could make it about why are we doing? No, they stepped in the facility yesterday, ready to learn. We gave them about 3 hours off. We came back. Put Miami behind us, started with Duke. And typically a Monday, is a day that's really light for our guys. I mean, we got out there today and had a good go. And they stepped up, had a great practice. We got better today.
Coach, what did you see from Mac more on the mental side, wearing that green dot for the first time, and just while he's getting his first real reps as Mike linebacker in-game, making sure to get all other front seven guys in place to play?
I think Mac just does such a great job of commanding the defense. It's his communication, it's his confidence, and all of that comes from preparation throughout the week. He's in this front row every team meeting. Locked in. Edge of his seat, leaning forward. It doesn't matter if it's special teams, defense, team meeting. That guy is all in. And I think you just see that embodied in the way that he communicates with our defense and the way that he plays. And then he's just playing convicted football. I mean, he's a sound decision maker. He's trusting his leverage. He's playing fast, and that's really exciting to see.
Do you have an injury update on Carmine Bastone? Do you think he'll be back this week or in the near future?
Yeah, I think it's a stretch this week. I mean, we'll stay optimistic. We still got a few more days, but do anticipate seeing Carmine back here sooner than later.
Jake, with the injuries in the D-line, how would you characterize the work that Christian Smith has done in getting the entire defensive line bought in and ready to impact the game as we saw on Saturday?
I mean, we got. I could say that about everyone in our program, but the job Christian Smith has done, developing depth in that room, and that certainly comes from skill sets and fundamental development, but it also comes from a position coach that truly believes in every single young man that's in that room. Like, as a player, you can sense that. When your coach believes in you, it just naturally boosts your confidence. I think the development of Jaden Cameron and Tyler Gant and some of these young guys that are just stepping up, I think that's a direct reflection of not only Christian's work with fundamentals and technique, but just the belief that he pours into his guys.
Was there anything you learned as far as game day operation that you didn't learn in the mock game, as far as just getting back and forth from here to there and that sort of thing?
Yeah, we're gonna have to adjust a few things pregame. We wanted to get off the field a couple minutes earlier than we did. There's the other thing that you learn when you're over at the Old Ryan Field in the locker room, not that we have a long walk here, but you're kind of isolated in this bubble. When you get into our facility, it's just a little bit easier for our guys to, it was the first time we were in this facility for game day. It was a little different. I think our staff, our guys handled it well, but there's certainly some things in our transitions pregame and halftime that we can clean up, and that's first goal of it. We'll be better this week.
Coach, just wanted to ask a little bit about the running back room. Cam Porter got the lion's share of the carries, but behind him, Caleb Kumalafe got some touches. Joe Hyman, only a handful of touches. What did you see from that room, and should we expect a similar touch distribution going forward?
Yeah, I mean, anytime the ball's in Cam Porter's hands, I'm going to have a smile on my face. But Caleb and Joe, I really see that room, and this isn't taking anything away from Cam, but I really see that room as a three-headed monster. I think all three bring unique skill sets to the room. Unfortunately, we got ourselves behind the chains more than we would have wanted to. And that puts where Cam really excels, not only in the run game, but is just such a veteran leader that understands the ins and outs of every component of our offense. And our Joe and Caleb are good in protection. I would argue Cam Porter may be one of the best backs in the country when it comes to protection. So, some of that in terms of opportunities comes down to that, but I see all three being utilized heavily this year.
One of the few, when I went back to watch, there was only one or two snaps under center. The rest were in pistol and gun. The one snap under center goes for a fumble. That's something you talked to Zach about. Like, we are a pistol gun team. Let's not maybe go under center in a tempo offense where we're not really keen to doing that.
Yeah, I think that's something. That's one of the things I really appreciate about Zach. We talk a lot about low ego, high output. Those are the types of people we're looking to bring into our program, and we talk a lot about ownership, and like before I could even address that with Zach, I mean, he was immediately owning that. Like that was a bad decision. That one's on me. And all you can ask in those scenarios, I made mistakes on Saturday. Like, you take full ownership in it, and then you learn from it moving forward. And I think all of us, including Jack and Mike, including Zach, would like to have that opportunity back. But the only demand I have moving forward is we learn from that. And when you got someone in that role that's not deferring or deflecting or pointing at the players and saying that was a bad call on me, you're going to do that.
And kind of going off of that, this is his first game at Northwestern as a play caller. What feedback did you have for him as a head coach after the Miami game?
In terms of Tim or Zach?
Zach.
Yeah. Feedback that I had was, some of it was, trust in the game plan. There were some things that we had in the plan early that, we just didn't get dialed up to the right defensive look. They made a good call. That happens. I think that scared us out of a few things along the way. And again, these aren't things. I mean, these are things like Zach is totally in tune with. I think there's some things that we can continue to do, especially going into a short week where, just continuing to evaluate what our guys are most comfortable with. And at the end of the day, getting our guys really comfortable and prioritizing execution, because a lot of the things that, we can continue to improve on our controllables on our end. And, against a team like Duke, that's going to be very aggressive, very multiple, going to try and get you behind the sticks. We have to be as efficient as ever. And I think, Zach really just continued to evaluate what our guys are playing fastest in and making sure that we're not processing or thinking out there.
Kind of going off of that, both Mike and Bryce talked about how that opening 20-yard completion on the first play of the game had been installed part of the game script. They knew that was going to be the opening play for about a week. Just with Coach Lujan's offense, how deep is that game script going in? About what point did it start getting off-script in plays that were not installed in the direct order?
Yeah. I won't divulge the exact details on that, but what I will say, I'm really impressed with the way Zach and the offense staff goes through that process. It's very collaborative. It's very well thought out. I mean, if you want to see Zach Lujan at his most eager and excited, come in for their openers meeting. And another thing that I think showed up in the second half, and having gone against Zach in the past, I think he does a really good job with second half openers as well, and that's something I'm excited to see continue to develop with that coaching staff.
Coach, will you go back? I know different teams, different corners, but will you go back and look how Manny attacked you guys last year at Penn State, or is that film not really worth anything now with Zach now here?
Yeah, no, that is absolutely something that's been a part of our evaluation process. I know Manny's not calling the defense right now, but it certainly appears to be the same structure and very similar scheme. And I think last year is a direct reflection of some of the things that they were doing. You can evaluate how he viewed us from a personnel standpoint, and I think there's a lot to learn from that.
Kenny Soares played about 14 snaps last game. Is that what you see his role this season, or was that just kind of an outlier based on personnel and what you were seeing?
I'd say a little bit of an outlier. Kenny's one of our best football players, for sure. The position he plays, that Sam position, based on their personnel, we're adjusting, getting into more of a nickel look. But Kenny's skill set as a Sam linebacker, as a line of scrimmage player, as a pass rusher, we need to continue to find as many opportunities for Kenny to be on the field as possible.
Talking just a little bit about special teams and Paul Crane's group, until the missed field goal in the fourth quarter, it looked like a very clean operation over on the day, especially on kickoff coverage. What did you see from that unit in all the different phases that comes with special teams?
I saw a well-thought-out plan, and, having been a special teams coordinator, I'm not trying to take anything away from Paul, but the most important thing that you can do is get your guys playing fast with great demeanor, and guys that their give what factor is super high on. The thing that's great about being at Northwestern, we got 111 guys that are itching to be on those units. But I saw a group of guys that played with great leverage, with great energy. A couple big returns in the second half, by AJ and Coco. And again, 14 yards by AJ. But, that's a big deal. Getting the ball out past 35-yard line with Coco, that's a big deal. You see a lot of guys just straining to execute their job, and that's something we got to continue to build off of. We don't have to win the scheme battle every time on special teams. We just need to be a group that really takes pride in winning in that area, and we did win in that area on Saturday.
Coach, it felt like there was a really interesting juxtaposition of the new stadium and the craziness, but also a sense of calm with the players, coaching staff, and our support staff as well being at our practice field. Did you experience that, and how did that kind of manifest for you, and how do you think that manifested for the team, that calmness?
Yeah, I think honestly, Lauren, I think it has so much to do with the work that everyone involved, our support staff, Alex Nisley, Jimmy Muslin, everybody, our athletic department, Scott Airy, all the work that he's done, Luke Fagor, the list could just go on and on. But, there was such a good job of everything operationally going in that I don't think there was any of that, even though it may have been stressful for all those individuals, none of that was passed on along to our team, and I think that's where you saw a lot of the calm. I think you also saw, people that were willing to be really excited about game day, but also willing to take a deep breath and say, this is pretty special, and I look forward to that continuing moving forward. We're excited to truly continue to create a home field advantage, and that's what I'm excited about. I think Saturday was, just feedback that I've gotten from people at the game. It was something people were so excited to be a part of, and we got to make sure we only amplify that more moving forward.
You mentioned that Duke quarterback Malik Murphy is one of the most live arms that you guys have seen in a while. I know there's not a ton of game tape out on him, but what have you seen as you've dove through some of that film?
Really good player. Really good player. Processes well. Elite arm talent. And I don't know. I always like that word, but he can let it rip. They offensively they do some really good things scheme wise. They put the ball in his hands a lot. He's got a lot of talent out on the perimeter in the backfield. O-line does a good job. We're gonna have to be at our best in terms of affecting him in the pocket, affecting him in coverage, and being really disruptive. But he's gonna make some plays, and we got to do a good job of playing with good leverage, tackling well, and forcing him to earn everything. But he is talented. He is well coached. He processes well. This is going to be a big-time challenge for our defense.
Coach, speaking of Duke's scheme, Miami, Ohio attacked you guys hard on RPOs. Was there a consideration, it's a two-part, sorry, is there a consideration of adding an overhang player, maybe a dog-type linebacker, just to take away that screen? And then with the way Duke runs their RPOs out of the backfield with the tear motion, orbit motion, is there going to be more emphasis on the game plan to maybe go to a nickel look so you don't have to have Mac or Xander trying to run with the running back on those motions out of the backfield?
Yeah, no, when teams get lighter, we definitely are in a nickel personnel. Teams can certainly find certain formations to get our guys extended out. I think there's some areas that we feel really confident we need to improve on in terms of just block destruction on the perimeter. I think a lot of the things that we saw on the perimeter were a result of us doing a good job against the run game, which is like that's the positive side. But if we're going to be stingy in that, we're going to have to be ready to defend the ball on the perimeter. I feel like there was things that we did well. I'm excited about the way Mac's playing in space. I'm excited about the way that Xander's playing in space. But we do need to improve on our block destruction.
Both Coco and AJ have been game changers for you as a returner, but Coco did come down with cramps after that last 35-yard return. Does that give you any pause of continuing to put him back there, or do you continue to value that potential game-breaking?
Yeah, I don't think you'll see Coco back there on every kickoff return, but he's certainly, and that's not an adjustment, Matt, based on what we saw Saturday. I mean, we knew that was going to be things that we'd use him selectively throughout the season. But when a senior captain comes to you 2 days before the game and says, I want to be out there on kickoff return, I want the ball in my hands, as a coach, sometimes you got to, say no. But in this case, we weren't going to say no. He'll continue to be utilized for sure.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks
so
everyone.
much, Coach.